All I ever wanted was to make them proud. But the silence in that house was just way too loud to hear anything but the disapproval, disappointment, disillusionment. In that world, all I ever received was punishment. And burning bright meant the removal of my confidence. And after a while, even the toughest built structures start to crumble and fall until you're feeling several inches less tall and the world around you resembles hell itself. And so I began to construct walls to guard against everything that felt sharp. My tiny little hands were too small to hold all the fragmented shards of myself, each one far too jagged to do anything but puncture and wound. I grew tattered and battered, and my heart became even more shattered, and I tripped into a hole dug by harsh words and the lash of a leather strap. Not knowing up from down, I started to drown in a sea of melancholy, and the silence I had once feared became the safest place that I had. And if I could find the quiet and pretend that I didn't exist, at least I had just enough energy to persist in a den of thrashing beasts. Sometimes their punches missed. I just needed to be strong. And so I carved away at what was left of me, and I hid. I might have been tucked on a shelf, making myself as small as I could, the wealth of my enormity, unknown. Lost under a fake smile designed to hide a frown. But I was alive, and that was something. It's like a funny joke that no one laughs at, one that goes up in a puff of smoke. No one likes sad clowns anyway. Was there ever a time that I mattered? To anyone? Years later, I had forgotten about the things that hurt the most when my hands weren't big enough to carry it all, and I buried as many of those bits of me as I could to protect them and me from feeling the strain or losing too much that I'd get lost in the rain falling from my own eyes more often than I'd ever admit. Except out of sight doesn't ever really mean out of mind or out of heart. So every time I tried to start something, anything, I realized my palms had holes so wide that a planet could slip through them, and my grip was made weak from all the times I attempted to seek solace anywhere I could find it. And I felt blinded, but I continued on, and as I grew bigger and older in my body, the spaces between me, myself, and I began to tug at one another. And the monotony of a life not lived tugged at what remained, and it started to give. The attention of others felt like enough to smother the screaming child inside my chest, and every bit of me that could never find a single moment's worth of rest. I was doing my best to blend in with all the rest. It's just that it had become so excruciating that I started to waver, and I couldn't hold it all together as well as I used to. The remaining pieces of me were stretched so thin that I couldn't even muster a phony grin, and every expression on my face melted into a blank stare. And I spent far too long telling myself that each piece of me that I gave away didn't hurt. The pain would go away, and I'd find some way, any way, to matter to someone. I was so sure. I was a straight A student that could pass any test, right? I searched for it in every face, in every word, in every single place I thought might shield me from everything I needed to run away from. Except I had no idea where I was going. And abuse looked like love. It's what I was taught, so if it was a lesser amount, it felt like good enough. And that was better than nothing. They tell you that home is where the heart is, but I had lost mine so long ago that I had no map back. I attracted more pain out of this feeling of lack, and when I looked in the mirror, I didn't even recognize the being staring back at me. And then I heard a familiar scream, and I wanted to run again, except the definition of insanity is something like repeating the same things over and over again and expecting different results. I just needed to do something different this time. So I stared into that mirror, and I opened my ears. And I realized that taking the time to listen to that little kid might help me feel something other than sadness and pain. And it was me that was the jailer after all, and no one else was going to do something about it. I was to blame. I felt so much shame. I had shoved them deep down in a prison I created for myself out of fear. And I was still afraid of the dark, but I knew I needed to at least try to flap my wings. Except I had forgotten that I sheared them off and lit them ablaze for warmth. The flood of memories that filled my mind began to open my eyes, and once I did, I saw that I was in the darkness the entire time. I didn't just lose my ability to fly, I had lost all my senses in the search for something to fill the spaces I had carved away for each and every one of those faces that said, I love you, but they really meant, I love what I can take from you. And I stumbled around for an eternity. It felt as if I would be there until the end of never. But one day, I looked up and I saw light for the first time in a pair of glistening blue oceans full of stars wrapped up in the eyes of a stranger. Except they felt so familiar I could swear I'd known them all my life. And I had never seen anything so beautiful before, and I needed to find out more. It was definitely worth the endeavor. I wanted nothing more to stand on those shores and feel everything that felt foreign to me because it didn't live shrouded in shadow. I had never stopped to think that there might be someone else in that pit of despair. I ran towards that light and gasped for air as I attempted to cry out to them from across the void. And fear was something ocean eyes shared. And all my presence did was cause them to feel scared. So when the echo of my voice clattered out of my lips and found them, those gorgeous orbs of light extinguished with one single crimson tear and a confusing whisper, "Go away. Please help. I need you." "No, I don't. I don't need anything." The darkness felt even thicker than before, but something had shifted inside me, and I started to sing a melody formed by each moment of suffering. The louder I got, the more it felt like I had a shot at finding the only beautiful thing I had ever known. Soon, my voice filled up every inch of space, simultaneously in slow motion, and at once I felt everything contract into a single point at the center of me. And then, in its place, an explosion. My heart started to race, and all of a sudden, my eyes were actually open, and I found myself laying on a blanket at the beach. And for as long and arduous as that experience felt, it all took place in the span of something like a nap. And I finally understood that there may never be a way to erase what caused me to live in my own shadow, but I could step out from underneath it. And so I did. Fighting to survive had been transformed into a drive to thrive, and I was finally truly able to feel alive. And so hand in hand, now I walk with that child that I found in the dark, finally able to feel the sun on my face. I love you.